Hey. Happy Monday, everybody. I am finishing up my day. I've been able to get out and do things for myself now, which is really nice. For those of you who didn't know, I had a kidney transplant in January 26th to be specific. So, it's like a 90-day window, 90 days to 6 months for they consider you recovered or in a good recovery stage. So I'm just about 6.5, almost 7 weeks out, but just fighting through it. I've had a lot of complications, and I still have one other procedure to go through to get fluid drained off my stomach. But other than that, my spirit is in a good place. I'm growing through this process in so many ways that I had not expected. One thing I learned during this time is that God blesses us with what he gives us and what he takes away. There were times when I was alone, and my husband was there, and of course my daughters were there, but other people that I really wanted to just or that I'd expected and hoped that they would be more involved, show more concern, and that I would be able to just lean on, weren't there. And I went through the stages of being hurt over that, and then from my hurt to being angry about it, because those are kind of some of the stages of grief. And grief is anything that causes you pain or discomfort. Doesn't have to just be related to death. And so I had gone through those stages of just being angry, and then God helped me with it and showed me that he blesses you with what he gives you, and also what he doesn't allow you to have, or what he takes away, because he has different seasons and times in our lives that after you go through the process of something. And just to think about it, for me, when it comes to this process, I think about things like having a baby is stressful, buying a house is stressful, getting married is stressful. And when I think about those things, all of those things come with trials and tribulations. They come with growing pains, because if you have a baby, then you have to go through the growing pains of the baby not sleeping, you getting used to being a mother, rearranging your life to around this baby. When you buy a house, you have to go through all of the credit and all the things you need to do to get yourself together for that. And then even after you get the house, there's different things you have to fix. There's not just the mortgages, taxes, insurance. You might have to do house repairs that you weren't anticipating. Getting married, it's a bliss in the beginning, and then you have to go through the stages of really getting to know this person, because you don't know someone until you actually live with them. Not spend a night at their house, not them staying over your house, but actually living with them. And then you actually get to know them, and you get to know them, and you can really begin to realize that their lifestyle is completely different from your lifestyle. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find a good way to hold this. And lifestyle could be how you sleep at home if you like it quiet and they don't. It could be how you decide to pay bills, how you like to eat in your house, how you like to keep your house clean, and they might have a different perspective of what that is, and just your values in general. So those things all come with growing pains. And although you could be so happy for your house, so happy for your new baby, it's still something that you look at and you go, oh gee, I didn't know I was going to get into this. And it's just like the kidney. It's such a blessing, because I had always, the whole time, it's been a 20-year process for me of being sick with kidney disease and finally getting into end-stage kidney disease. And I had always talked about God never allowing me to see the inside of a dialysis center. I decreed and declared that for a very long time. I would say, God is never going to let me see that. And then I was on the transplant list for 5.5 years. Nothing was happening. And I was getting worried and concerned, and, still trusting God, but having a natural experience and being worried from time to time, because I was getting sicker. So since I knew that I had decreed and declared and always spoke it and believed it, and knew that there was power in my words, I said, well, I'm getting sicker and I need to do something about it. So I'm going to choose peritoneal dialysis. And for those of you who don't know what that is, you can do dialysis at home with a machine that they teach you how to use. You do it at home, you do it at night, and you don't have to go to a dialysis center. So I had chosen that, and actually began to get prepared for that, and actually went and got my an evaluation and everything, and was prepared to do that. And then out of nowhere, I was called for the kidney. They actually reached my husband and not me. And so God did keep his word. He kept his word for what he gave me and what he kept away, because he kept me away from the dialysis center as he had promised and as I had spoken, because I knew that when I was speaking my prayers to him and hear him, he had never showed me that I was going to be in a dialysis center, and he kept his word with that. He made sure that his words didn't fall to the ground, that they came to pass. And so he gave me what I needed, and blessed me with that by giving me a kidney and making sure that I didn't have to ever see a dialysis center. At the same time, now that he's given me the kidney, it has truly been a struggle. And I want to be just completely transparent with you guys. It has been such a struggle that there's been times when I was like, take the kidney back. I cursed the kidney, and had to go the next minute and say, Lord, I know this is a blessing. I'm so sorry. But I just want to be transparent with you guys about that it's almost like you get married and it's such a blessing. And then you get in the house and you like, I wasn't signed up for this. I didn't know. I don't know if I'm down with this. I don't know if I can live with this. And you have to decide what's important to you and if you can live with it. And that's what happened with me, is that after getting the kidney, I really didn't know if I could get through the parts of it. Like, it was such a struggle. I had an infection. I needed a transfusion. I had to have tubes in me, and I had one tube, and then I had two tubes, drain tubes, and I couldn't walk. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't stand up. And it was like, Lord, if this is what I was going to get, take it back, and I've said it, and just out of pain and grief. And my husband's like, don't talk like that. And I understood where he was coming from, but I also knew that God knew where I was coming from, and that he had forgiven me before I said it. And he wanted me to learn that just as I blessed you with what I give you, and I bless you with what I take away, you're going to have to walk out this process like every other process. Every blessing, everything that comes, that's such a blessing that comes from above, there's a responsibility in it. There's an obligation to it. There's a process to getting to the good part of it. It's almost like, they say, in order for you to get the olive out of olives, you have to crush them and press them. To get the wine out of grapes, you have to crush them and press them. To get the diamonds out of coal, you have to crush it and press it. So I had to go through this crushing process, not just with the sickness or the kidney problem itself, but through the pains of being alone, feeling rejected from different people, thinking that some people would call me or, talk to me more regularly and try to comfort me, just weren't there. People who I thought would come see me, who lived close to me, because a lot of my family and close friends that know me, that know my heart, that know this walk, live in a whole nother state, who were willing to get on a plane instantly. I mean, to the point where I had to back them off and say no, because I don't want to overwhelm my husband, and I don't want to overwhelm myself with having too many people in my house for too long at one time. So I had to just kind of back that off. But it felt good that my family was willing to come and be there for me, and just there was times when I wasn't talking to them on the phone because I was so sick. I just didn't even know how to respond to them. And they accepted that. They would text me and say, just know we're thinking about you. And, we know you might not want to talk. They didn't take it personal. They just really understood that I was really going through it and I was struggling. And then there was times when I didn't think I would make it. I started calling my lawyer, like, let's get a will together, because I didn't think I would make it through. There are stages that you go through in this thing where you think, like, I'm just not, the pain is so great, the complications, I don't know if I'm gonna come out of this. And I would have to literally pull on my faith, because there was one particular night that I want to share with you guys that I lay down that night. I had just come out of the hospital and I had a tube still, or I think they had taken both tubes out at this point, but now I had a PICC line in my arm, which is a central line. It's a catheter that goes all the way to your heart. It comes from out of your heart and comes out of your arm. So it looks like a regular IV, but it's actually 43 centimeters long, and it goes directly into the vessel of my heart. And I had just come out of the hospital. I had that in. I had the infection, had visiting nurses that had to come to the house. And that first night, after being in the hospital the last time for 5 days, I didn't think I could make it, you guys. I mean, I looked up at the ceiling and I thought about my husband, and I was like, Lord, because, when you're blessed by God, you're blessed no matter if you're here or not. Absence from the body means presence with the Lord. And I fully understand that. When you say to God, use me for your service and your glory, he might use you by taking you away, because you leaving this earth might open up a whole nother world for somebody who was delaying doing something they wanted to do or needed to do, might do it because you're gone. People's lives might just change for the better. That tragedy of your death might be a triumph for someone. So I knew that even with my belief and my faith, healing could mean going home, because that is healing too. And I had spoken to God about it that night. I said to him, I said, Lord, just consider my husband in all of this. I said, if you're going to take me home, don't let me suffer like this, because I was really going through the emotional and mental aspects of suffering. Like, emotionally, I'm drained. I can't get my head together. Physically, I'm in pain. Mentally, I can't get my head together. So like, it was a night of suffering. And I remember that particular night. And I thought of my husband mostly because I know, I have my children and they've been prepared for this a little longer, and they have their lives with young children to keep them going. But my husband, him and I are building a life together, and it's been a rough road, but we're at a good place where we're really building our lives together. And I was just thinking about him, like, goodness. And even the first night that I found out I was going to get a kidney, the first thing I did, I said, call your mother, my mother-in-law, because I was just crying to her, because it's her son, but it's my husband. And all I kept saying to her, well, who's going to take care of him? Because that's all I was thinking about. Like, who's going to take care of my baby? Who's going to take care of my husband? Because when you finally get to the good part of the marriage, when you go through the burning and the fire and you get to the good part, yeah, that's your baby, that's your partner, that's your friend, that's your love. And you worry about them. They are a priority for you. So anyways, that night, I sat there and I prayed and I said, Lord, just take me out of the pain. If you planning on taking me home, make it easy for my husband, and the easy as it can be, and just don't let me die in pain. And I went to sleep that night, and I want to tell you guys this story. I went to sleep that night, and ever since I got the kidney, the weirdest thing is I kept dreaming about my mom over and over and over and over again. I mean, it was crazy. I was like, what is this kidney doing to me? Why does she keep coming in my dreams? So I came up with this grand idea that she was coming in my dreams because she was taking me home with her. So that really fed into the thought that I wasn't going to make it, because she kept coming. She would sit still and look at me. Sometimes she would say something, but she was just there over and over again. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's coming to take me with her. And so this one particular night, when I prayed to God to take me if he was going to, and just to not let me be in pain, I went to sleep that night. I tossed and turned. I couldn't sleep for anything. And I wasn't on any pain meds, so I was just in a lot of pain. I put my phone next to me and I put on some gospel music, some praise and worship music, and I left it really low and I just tried to sing it. So I guess I must have fell asleep singing some of the lyrics to some of the songs that were playing. And I fell asleep and I had a dream that I was in a tug of war, and all I could see was all my sisters and brothers was in this tug of war with me. And we were pulling, and I didn't know who we were pulling against, but we were pulling and pulling. And I woke up and I was sweating, and I, thought about the dream, like, oh my goodness, I just dreamed that. And the song by Kirk Franklin, You Are, was playing. And I just remember it saying, you are my cornerstone, and I fell back to sleep. When I fell back to sleep, I went into the same exact dream. And in that dream, now my mother was there, and we were pulling tug of war, still not able to see who it was with, but it was all of my family. And I heard my mother say, y'all got it now, you got it. And she was happy about it. She said, you got it. And then I heard a voice, which was the voice of the Holy Spirit, and said, it's done. You did it. And I came out of that dream, and do you know, I've never thought about dying again. It's still been a struggle. It's still been very hard, but he took it away from me. He delivered me from this problem that I'm going through in my dream. Yeah, I'm still struggling. I still have rough days. I still have a hard time sleeping. The pain from the PICC line is painful. I still get sick off the meds a lot. It's still a journey. It's still a challenge, but I don't see it the way I've seen it before. I know that God has delivered me from it. And also the pain of the rejection and the people that I thought would be there who weren't. He showed me there's some people that I'm placing in your life because they were people who I never expected to call me or be there for me or send things, and they did. So he blessed me with what he gave me. And he also blessed me with what he didn't allow me to have and what he took away. And I no longer have anger for those people. I'm not pissed off anymore. I'm not feeling like, oh, I don't never want to speak to them again. I'm just feeling like God showed me that they had a place in my life and it wasn't for that. Not that it's not for something else down the line. There's no anger. There's no, I'm not speaking to, there's none of that. It's just that they don't hold that place in my life, and I need to put them in perspective, because some people that are the world to you, you may not be the world to them for whatever reason. But you got to be able to see that at some point. And God had set that event up to show me, I know you love this person and that person, and they love you, but not in the way that you love them. They don't see you how you see them. And that's just something to accept. And it's easy and better to accept that now, so you won't do things that shouldn't be done with those people in the future. So I just wanted to come on. This is my 15 minutes of faith. It's going past 15 minutes because it needs to. I hadn't been on in a really long time. Things have been busy with, work, and of course, getting married, building a house, trying to get acclimated to all of that. But I'm submitting to you today that know that God can bless you with what he gives you and what he takes away. Know that he can. And also to remember, when you decree and declare something and you believe it in your heart, stand on it. It doesn't matter how long it takes to show up, it will show up. He will make sure that his words do not fall to the ground, that they are not void. They will not turn back void. He watched over his word to see that it's performed. He said, you're my child. I'm not going to let you speak that to the world and know that you have my spirit and you represent me, and not show up and show out for you. Because not only did I get a kidney, I have never seen a dialysis center, and I never had peritoneal dialysis. I actually went from my 2 native kidneys to the transplant. And the funny part about it is that once they transplanted my kidneys, because for those of you who don't know, they do not take out your old kidneys. They just implant a new one in your belly. And once they planted the new one in my belly, the funny part of it is that my old ones wouldn't stop working. And that was God showing me they'll stop when I want them to stop, because I kept them working for as long as I wanted to keep them working. So just trust in the Lord and the power of his might. Your help comes from above. And it don't come from the people and places you think it comes from. It comes from those that God assigns and sends and ordains to be in your life. And those other people that don't come when you think you need them, love them anyways. Love them and keep them in the place where they're supposed to be. But at least you have perspective about it now. You have wisdom about it now. You understand it now. So you won't have them in an improper place in your life, because it'll come a time when you will need to know who's where and who does what and who should be doing what in your life and what you should be doing in their lives. So just walk in love in that situation. I wanted to just share this with you. I'm doing well. Again, I have some more challenges that I'm going to face, but I'm trusting in the Lord and believing that I'm going to get over them. I've been advocating for myself, because at first I was being the quiet, meek nurse and not really saying nothing. I didn't want to be the overall know-it-all nurse. But then they made some mistakes that got me sick. So now every time I show up with as the nurse with the bachelor's, the master's, and the doctorate degree. Yeah, I show up as that nurse with 25 years of experience. And if they get me pissed off, I show up as the nigga with the master's, the doctorate degree. And my husband has been there to see it. I don't cuss at them or anything, but I don't play with them. And they be looking at me too like, what this nigga know? I know everything I'm talking about. I wouldn't be talking about it if I didn't know it. Because you have to do that. Because as a black woman and a black person in general, sometimes they won't tell us things we need to know, and they'll leave certain things out. And they did that to me. And, so I had to speak up. And like I said, now when I come, I show up. I show up for me. And I don't care what they think of me. I show up for me. And when I try to talk their language and they don't understand it, I talk my language. Yo, this is what I'm saying. And then they hear me, because you can't always pull the education card, because it don't work. You got to pull the this is me from wherever you want it to be card. But anyway, y'all know me. That's me if you get me there. Hopefully you don't have to, but if you do, I got it for you. My first degree, I always say, was in Sidewalk University. I didn't have them college degrees first. I had the ones from the hood. So she just sleep and rest, but she could come out anytime you wanted to. And I've had to do it to these doctors to let them know. And now when I show up to Miss Chestnut, we got everything in it. Yeah, you need to. They said, we got good news for you. That's the only news you could bring to me. Because you made a mistake, and I know you made some mistakes. So now let's get it right. So I'm not even so mad about that, because I wasn't mad about that. I was furious about that at first. They couldn't even say nothing to me, and I didn't have any trust for them. I still don't really trust them, but I trust the process, and I trust God that he's going to get me through this. So this is turning into 20 minutes, but just wanted to come on and say, hey, man, I love y'all. I hope that I've sowed some seeds of love, some the people who have been there for me and showed up and showed love. Man, I appreciate you. I love you. I hope that I've sowed those same seeds of love to you. And I know that if I haven't, if the opportunity comes, I certainly will be there. But just want to say I love y'all. Keep it real. Stay true to yourself.